All right.
Well, hey everyone. It's nice to see you tonight for our LGBTQ meeting. Pardon me while I move windows around on my computer so I can take a
All
look
right.
at the materials. We are at the point of introductions, of course. That's what we always do at the beginning of these. So I'm Mike Waters, chair of the LGBTQIA Intersectional Task Force for the Human Rights Commission. I'm also a Human Rights Commissioner. And I live in Ward 7 and my pronouns are they and them, and I will pass it to Kathy.
Hello, I'm Kathy Ostran-Ponchin. Pronouns are she and her. I'm a resident just south of Ward 4 and also a member of the Human Rights Commission. And I'll pass it to Amelia.
Hi, I'm Amelia Knight. I am a citizen of Ward 4. My pronouns are she, her, and I will pass it to Byron.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Byron, and I use he, him pronouns. I believe I live in Ward 5, but don't quote me on that. And I will pass it on to Tricarico.
Hi, Tricarico here. I'm a commissioner and a resident of Ward 2. I use they, them pronouns, and I think that's everybody, so I'll pass it to Gretchen.
Good to see everybody. Gretchen, and I'm staff to the commission and use she, her pronouns.
Well, excellent. Well, so good to see everybody tonight, and thank you for introductions. Did we have any public comment, Gretchen?
We did not. Unless Amelia would like to share public comment tonight.
Our next step is approval of minutes. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at the minutes? And would anybody like to make a motion on those minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes from the September 22nd meeting.
Any second? Byron will second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
And yeah, great. And any opposed? Of course there aren't. Excellent. Okay, so Trans Day of Remembrance. We have a hot minute to get this event pulled together. We still time. It's on 11/20. That's a Saturday, but we need to probably book it to to make it all happen. We talked through some of the details last time, and the homework that we left with was to check in with some of the readers around their availability and interest. I did have a quick conversation with Corey, and I believe she is interested. I did not get a hold of Jay Lee. I don't have Jay Lee's information to see if she was interested. Tricarico, you had a conversation with Snarfy, and they were interested.
Yeah, they're down.
Okay, great. And I just sent a Facebook message to Rowan, so I'll let you know if I hear from Rowan. I'm in for reading names, as well as we talked about last time, having somebody from the commission just say a few words about the commission, and a reminder of kind of who we are and what we do. And I'll draft up some points and run them past you all, so you can say yay or nay on those. I checked in with Byron briefly about the flyer, but I did not follow up with Byron with any details to allow him to do the flyer. So I imagine, Byron, you're in need of some details, yes?
That I am, but I am still happy to, of course, work on the flyer, and we'll have it in well before the day of.
Great. Well, we know the date and time is, I believe 11:20, and was it at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m.? Do we remember from last time? Is there a specific time that it's normally done?
Actually, that's a great question. That might be worth a quick sort of Googling to see around the world how, if there is a set time. There's not one in my awareness. And I don't see a reference to it in our notes from last time.
I don't remember talking about the time.
That's enough.
Oh, in years past, we've held it at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock?
Last year, specifically, it says 7 o'clock to 8:30.
Yeah, I think 7 o'clock is a good time. I'm gonna go on mute for a second. I apologize.
7 sounds good to me.
Very good. Byron, what other questions might you have that need to be clarified for the flyer development?
Well, just to clarify, we are keeping Trans Day of Remembrance virtual. Is that correct?
That's right. So you'll need a YouTube link for it. And we talked a little bit last time about the YouTube link. There was also a suggestion to add a QR code. And in particular, I know that the city, when they're posting stuff on their city Facebook pages, they have like a template that they're using for that has a QR code on it. But if we have the URL for the YouTube, then it's pretty easy to generate that QR code, and it'd be easy for one of us to get that over to you, Byron, if you don't already normally know how to do that. But do we still want to provide that? I feel like I'm a bit disjointed tonight. I'm sorry.
No, you're
Good
great. I
question.
can certainly ask our communications team if it sounds like they have a QR code. We have something called the City of Salem Public Meetings YouTube channel, which is where all of this stuff flows to. And so I could ask them for the QR code and get that to you, Byron, for inserting into the flyer, if that sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. And I assume, are we going to want to generate a new YouTube URL for this year's event, or do we still have access to our previous years?
You know, I was trying to find history on last year. I remember I was getting some feedback that people were not finding it on there, but we only have, I was doing a little homework, and we do only have one public meeting YouTube channel. And so anything we broadcast goes to that.
Okay.
And so it's not, I'm not technical, and if I could certainly ask the communications team, but my understanding is that everything flows to the one YouTube channel. So there's just the one URL, but then when you get there, you'll see the different choices. Like right now, if you were to arrive to that site, you'll see this meeting happening live. And then next to it, you'll see other choices where you can click on meetings that have recently happened to watch them. So I think it's just the general City of Salem Public Meeting YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think Bria from IT was on our call last time, and I think she pretty much said the same thing, that it's better to just drive people to the channel. And I can't remember her reasons for it. Does anybody remember when Bria stepped in last time? It's not in the minutes, so I wasn't able to find it there.
Yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember the reasons either.
But did she indicate, do you think in that conversation, that it should go to the channel? Is that what you recall? I feel like I'm recalling that, but it could be out of the
I'm not sure.
corners of my
Maybe we
brain.
can check with her.
I'd be happy to. I just don't know what the alternative would be, you know, because that's where it lives. But I will absolutely ask Bria for that clarification.
Well, I know, Gretchen, at work, when we have really long, complicated URLs, they use like a URL shortener.
Yeah.
I don't know if that works with YouTube videos. I'm also not very technologically savvy.
Should,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
So
that's what
that'd
we
be
did last
another
year.
option.
Yeah,
Okay,
Bitly or
perfect.
something like that is a good option
Yeah.
if the URL is super long.
Yeah, and we did use Bitly last year, so which I have. And we may still be able to reuse depending on if we've changed the City of Salem public meetings link at any point.
The other thing while we're on the YouTube part is you might remember that when we went ahead and opened the broadcast early so that we would appear on the page. You might remember that until the meeting is opened or broadcasting live on YouTube, it doesn't physically appear. And we were worried that people would arrive at the channel maybe 10 or 15 minutes or 20 minutes early and not see it there and become confused. And so those of you who were in the Zoom last year for the event, you might remember that we went ahead and turned on the broadcast live on YouTube and then put a piece of paper up that said the event will begin shortly, just so that people would physically be able to see it and know that they're in the right place, if that makes any sense. But it causes us to need to remain on mute and not chat, because if we were to chat prior to the event start, all of that would be broadcast and it might confuse people who are essentially there to watch the event. So that was one awkward part about it, but
Yeah.
it looked like we did a great job.
Yeah, the only feedback that we got from last year that we talked about last time was that we overshot it on the time. We thought that the reading of the names would take a really, really long time. So we told people it was like a 90-minute event, and then we were over in like 20 minutes. So we probably need to specify that it's only a half-hour event. And then if it goes over, that's fine. But if it goes under again, then we have that. We want people to show up at the beginning. That I think was sort of the only negative feedback that we got last year, was that some people came and it was already over.
Well, Byron, what other questions can we answer? I'll get you the QR code information or the bit.ly, the link shrinking. It sounds like we would say 7 to 7:30 p.m. Saturday, November 20th. What other information would be important?
Have we changed any of our human rights disclosures that need to be that we should be including on public-facing posters or anything?
No change there.
And we'll be planning on, and I assume we'll be doing some print copies as well.
I think so, don't you all? Just so that we can post them at places that have flyers around town physically.
Yes, and Tricarico, you headed that up last year. Are you still willing to do that, and do you need help?
Yeah, I'd be willing to send some flyers around, and I could definitely use some help. I'm also wondering, should we put a little extra information, like here's how to sign up to receive updates from the Human Rights Commission, or is that not appropriate for an event like this?
The only thing I'd be concerned about would just be, I think it's certainly information we could include on the website, but for the post, but for the poster itself, I can try to fit it in. It just might be a little
Clunky.
Might be a little clunky. Exactly.
Okay.
But the idea is, yeah, I think it's definitely like a good approach. We just may need to either host something on the web page for the event, add a link to sign up for updates, or even in our, again, our QR code would link to the public meeting space, but maybe in the event description, we can also include a link as well.
That's right, because we previously had a page where
That's correct. Yes, and I can actually post. I'm not sure if I have the ability to post comments in our chat. Doesn't seem like I do, but I can. We do have an event page online for last year's event.
We do, and so I'm able to ask them to update it for this year. Have our new flyer, any new content or quotes or information. Certainly the new date and time. So I'll get them going on updating the content of the webpage based on the discussion tonight. And then Byron, when you produce the flyer, we can do that. I imagine we'd also, last year, we did a few things like sent it out on the city's Friday email
Yes.
and, a little piece to go out on social media, those kinds of things. But I would imagine your flyer, Byron, can be converted to JPEG, for example.
That
Yeah.
should be.
In terms of the names, I want to say that Corey did that for us last year. So either she or I can do it. I'll talk to her. And one of us will do it. For organizing the names. You have the source, right, Gretchen? Of the
Yeah.
names. There's
Yeah, I can get that to you. There's a web page.
Okay, and then I would just kind of massage it and organize it a little bit between the different speakers.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Mike, I don't know if I mentioned already, but I'm also happy to be a speaker too,
Oh,
to read
excellent.
names.
To read names specifically?
Yeah.
And last year, did we switch off after every 20 names or so? Do you remember?
I feel like it was more like 50.
More like 50 names per person. And I know we each had to do a couple of, how many were there last year? About 300? Oh God, that's so sobering. And just off. There were about 300, it seems like, and we had maybe 5 people. And it seems like we all went twice, but I could be making that up.
No, I remember having to do twice, and I think that was nice because it kind of helped kind of keep it moving and interesting, I guess, as interesting as an event like that can be.
Yeah. And we definitely read the cities. Our plan last year was not to read the cities, and the first speaker read the cities, and then we all followed suit to try to keep it continuous. And then we realized that that was a good thing, because otherwise it would have been a very short event if we hadn't read the cities. So we'll make sure that we have the cities.
I just located a document that was sort of a simple kind of run of show for beginning it, the opening remarks.
Great.
I'll send this out to everybody in case it's helpful as everyone's thinking about this year.
Oh yeah, that'll be a huge help
You bet.
in sorting it out. Cool.
Is there any additional programming you want to build in addition to I heard you mention opening remarks, piece about the Human Rights Commission, the readings of names. Do you want to add any programming, or do you want to keep it focused to what's described so far?
Well, like I said, if Corey and or Jay Lee are willing to say remarks like they did last year, I definitely would, or others, if there are others who feel called to give more extensive remarks. I think that added a ton of value last year. I don't know if if any of our other readers are interested in expanding their role or having more remarks. And we, at the last meeting of the task force, I mentioned that I would be willing to say a little bit more about the Human Rights Commission than we did last year. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, I think if our speakers from last year don't want to do a repeat, that we should try to find somebody. Because it was so valuable to have the extra content around it, and just to have people frame it up.
I agree, Mike. I think, a little bit about the HRC. I wish I knew a speaker who, I wish we had thought about this a little earlier, because I think it would be nice to have something, having Corey speaking at the event last year really helped. And maybe that's something we ask all of our speakers of like, hey, is there anything you'd like to share in addition at the end to reading the names? You know, even if it's just a couple quick sentences, I think that could be really powerful.
Oh, that's an interesting thought, almost an impromptu reflection of the experience of reading.
Yeah, or just anything they want to share about the event or what it means to them, or, you know, anything along those lines. I mean, we have plenty to share about the HRC and what we're doing, but, you know, if there's any other, you know, trans adjacent issues that people want to share about, or programs or events or something, or just even, hey, this is my experience as a trans person, I think that would be really valuable as well.
Yeah, we could, I love that, you know, we could ask each reader if they wanted to share why they participated, why this matters to them. And it wouldn't have to be very long, but it would add like a lot of value to, I remember last year's event, just the remarks that both of the speakers delivered just were left a very somber event feeling more hopeful, feeling more connected, which I think is one of our goals in the community, is that we feel connected through this experience. So I love that, Tricarico. It's a good idea. And I think we can ask each person if they're willing.
Yeah, you know, I'd almost be willing to share something that's kind of along the theme of you're not alone. You know, like, hey, we've got the HRC, you know, we've got Rainbow Youth, we've got the Safe Spaces project coming up. There's local ACEs and Arrows and non-binary groups. You know, there's other LGBTQIA plus focused meetup groups that you can find. You know, Oregon Department of Education just made an LGBTQIA2 plus success coordinator for their students, and they have those listening sessions coming up. So kind of a like, here are some ways you can reach out and connect to your community, especially if you are a trans person who is not getting the support they need. You know, I think that I'd be willing to put something together that talks about some of those options, and I would welcome anyone else sharing other things they're aware of that have been kind of on the theme of community and support.
Thank you. That's awesome.
So perhaps that's the meeting, the gathering. Mike, if I'm tracking correctly, you'd begin, and then there'd be the trade-off of the reading of the names, and then maybe it would conclude, and then other things maybe other readers would want to share, and then would conclude with Tricarico sharing the message of opportunity, of connection, of, you know, you aren't alone. Does that sound like the flow, or how are we imagining it?
I think that sounds like a good flow, with the possible caveat that if one of our speakers from last year is willing to speak again, that we should take advantage of that, because I just thought they were both so excellent last year. So yeah, but I like that. I like the flow, you know, starting with me and ending with Tricarico. And then if we have some other speakers, that's just icing on the cake.
Great.
Well, icing on the cake, on a very sad cake, but it's icing nonetheless.
Thank you. We don't gather again until after the event. So I don't know if there's other, as you imagine it. So we'll be distributing the flyer. We'll share the run a show. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think last year, and tell me if this is appropriate from that public meetings perspective, I believe that we handled a lot of the logistics in just an open email, where everybody was copied so they could see. And since we weren't deliberating about any issues, we were just handling logistics. I thought that was fine. Does that work okay, Gretchen?
You know, I think you're right. Thank you for the memory on that. I think you're right. As long as we don't begin, the boundary would be not to begin to deliberate on new policy recommendations or ideas. We're truly limited to event logistics, in that kind of environment.
Yes. So I think we could handle it by email without the need to have another meeting. However, if our email traffic is, if we're all still feeling really unsettled, we could, via that vehicle, schedule a quick get together. What do you all
Correct.
think of that?
I would be open to that.
Great. Well, I can put together sort of the flow of the evening that you've lined out, and Mike, at some point you will have the names, we'll have the flyer, so we'll start sharing these content pieces, and then if questions or concerns emerge, we can take it from there.
Okay. Yeah, and in particular, if we're discussing on email and something comes up that's more substantive that would require a noticed meeting or whatever, we could just do one real quick. But
You bet.
doesn't seem like we're going to run into that kind of territory since we already have a sense of the flow of the event. All right, I really like that. Are there other things for TDOR? We'll want to remind people over email to have their candle in their frame, and some of those other details. We could probably reference last year's email, Gretchen, and I can work on that with you on the side. Make sure our people have their candles.
Actually, would you mind if I ask a quick question?
Yes.
About the candles? Back when the library was transitioning around, they bequeathed to us, a collection of candle holders that are about like 3 or 4 inches, and they're kind of goldish in color in the event that we ever returned to an in-person environment. And I know often indoor spaces won't allow a lot of live candles, but you could put those little votives that are battery operated in there, the kinds that we used a few years ago. Yeah. Do you generally like that idea? Would you see a use for those in the future? Should I hold on to them?
Oh, I think so, because when we do it in person again, and I believe we will someday, I really do. When we do it in person again, I think that would be really useful, because we were just using candles with like a little paper catch. Remember when we were using live candles? I've only done it once outdoors, once at Center for 50 Plus, and then once virtual. But the year that we did it outdoors, we had those candles that had just like a little paper, and the wax went all over everything. So probably would be good to have a holder.
Very good. And there's probably 15 of those. So I don't want to give you the impression there's enough for like 100 people.
Yeah.
So I guess I wondered if those were more for sort of decoration around the space.
Yeah.
But still, it sounds, regardless, however they're purposed, it sounds like they would be a good addition. So I'll make sure to save them for future years.
Yeah, I like that.
Good. Okay.
Thank you for sending that run of show, Gretchen. That's really helpful. Just looking at it right now. Are there other details that we need to talk about for TDOR tonight, or do we feel like we've got it?
Just say if there's something that comes up between now and then, as far as handing out flyers or the hard copies or anything like that, let me know. I'm happy to help get something done and to get it ready. So
Yeah, I should mention Tricarico. I'm happy to help with that as well. Cool.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. We'll coordinate with all of you on the pickup of that once we have them printed. So I'll just, Gretchen, when you have those ready, just let us know and we'll coordinate that.
I'd be happy to. What's a good guess number of how many you think we have venues for in Salem to put up?
I have no idea. I think I did a couple dozen last year, just kind of walking around to
Just around
places that I
downtown.
knew. Yeah. And there was actually, quite a few that were saying, oh, leave a stack.
Hmm,
So it sounds like a lot, but I would take like 50.
very good. I'll have to see how the flyer lays out, but I wonder if it would lend itself to a quarter sheet, smaller version that would be the leave a stack sort of a thing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's a great idea.
Yeah, depending on how it looks, if it doesn't condense too tight, that could be yeah.
Or even half sheet.
Yeah. Well, Byron, I'll get you QR code and then we'll look to you. You'll send me the design when you have it, and then I'll work with our copy center to get it printed.
That sounds like a plan to me.
Well, our other agenda item tonight was Safe Spaces project. And when we talked last time, we had good good materials that had been put together by city staff, and we mentioned a couple of considerations for those materials. And then I don't see in our minutes or necessarily recall what our next step was, Gretchen. Was it that we're, kind of at a place of taking it to the full commission? Are we, do you remember? It's probably in that timeline, actually.
Yeah, I think that timeline would benefit from a little bit of adjustment, but yeah, basically the idea would be if you're ready to go ahead and have this be a recommendation to the Human Rights Commission. I think the one adjustment that I would mention to the timeline is I would delay outreach to Urban Development Department into November, just because I didn't get that done, and think that at this point probably it'll happen in November, but maybe that's immaterial. But the only other question I had was, I noticed that the minutes observed that it'll be important to be, how is it put?
Out language.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to confirm that the materials, the recommendation document to the commission and the timeline reflected the intent of the language that you have, or if there were changes that were needed.
If I recall, there were some questions that we had around the language, but if I'm recalling, we wanted to have the full commission take a look at it, because we felt that as a LGBTQIA plus group, that we definitely had insight into that part of the language, but that we maybe wanted to run it past the full commission. So I don't know that we as LGBTQIA felt that we needed to make more adjustments to the language, but correct me if I'm wrong. There was some discussion around, was there a term in the original around that used marginalized or something? And we didn't like that term. Or we maybe wanted it to be historically marginalized or something like that.
Thank you. I can do a search. I'm looking at the document right now and I can't find the term, but I can confirm by doing a search and make sure.
We might have already changed it.
Yeah, maybe actually, because I don't see it. It looks like we just say individuals who may experience bias in the community.
Yeah, I think that's what we landed on, actually. We liked that terminology because it was really general. And it could apply to anybody.
Mhm. Great. The only thing that jumped out at me in the document is I found myself wondering about whether to recommend taking out the word training in the list of things that we offer. I remember a couple of meetings ago, we clarified, we'll almost like be, I think Tricarico had an analogy that helped me. It was like, we'll almost be like calling the nurse line. Like you can get some consultation and some information and some connection to resources or consultants, but we lack the capacity and would want to set a boundary around offering a lot of free, thorough training. And so I thought maybe the phrase in the report that said that we offer resource materials, maybe that might be a better term than saying we offer resource materials and training. And I know we also don't want to get in the way of people who provide that for a living.
Yeah, that makes sense, Gretchen. I think it might be nice to say, we offer resources and avenues for going deeper on topics, on a variety of topics. Because I've also heard people who are in that line of work saying they don't want to be referred to as a resource. So
Oh, thank you.
resources, because some of them are resources, some of them
Yeah.
are documents, some of them are concrete things. But skilled facilitators or just avenues to go deeper, because that really is what it is to me. If it's not just, it's when there's an issue that you just can't Google and you really need someone with some skill to walk you through it. And that could be a really well written, document, or it could be a consultation, or it could be an ongoing training. So something that kind of encompasses, there's a lot of options.
I like it. Okay, thanks. I'll make the edit.
Thank you.
So, well, then I guess just a matter of confirming that you all are ready to see this on the agenda at the November Human Rights Commission meeting. And if you are, I can connect with our chair and vice chair there and just alert them that, we'll have an action item in addition to the normal task force report.
I think we're ready because I think that the full commission will continue to help us iterate and make it better. So I feel ready with what we have, but I want to hear from the rest of you if you feel comfortable and ready.
I think it's ready. And Gretchen, you mentioned the outreach to the urban development would need to be pushed out until November, but did that need to happen before it went to the full commission?
No, I don't think so. I think it can just sort of happen whenever. It's just an opportunity to connect with them and learn of the potential ways to connect with businesses.
Yeah, I'm in favor of moving forward to the Human Rights Commission, because I'd also love to hear what their thoughts and inputs are on the program and how we can go about getting it done. So I really think it's at the right stage where we've got a pretty good framework going. And ready to kind of start developing that further.
Great.
Great. Any further thoughts on safe spaces?
I'm just looking at the timeline, and it does refer to training as being a couple of different steps. One is revised materials or trainings based on outreach in February of 2022, and then actually do training in April. And so if it's not going to be a formal training, we just might want to update it on the timeline to provide information or have, do outreach.
Oh, good call out.
Thank you. Good point.
Yeah, maybe we could say information sessions or something.
That's a better phrase. I like that better. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that too, because we're not providing them with full-blown DEI training. We're just providing them with information about the program and yeah, I agree.
We'll make that change. Oh, and the name of the task force needs to include the word intersectional. I just noticed that was left out. That's a mistake. I'll get that fixed.
Well, this is really exciting. I mean, you know, for a city like Salem to have a safe spaces project, and I think one that is more robust than what we've seen other cities done. We looked at the Seattle example, you know, when we started, and this is much more. So I think it's just really exciting that we worked on this. I think it's gonna. I hope it's meaningful. Yeah.
That reminds me. So I was digging around, I don't remember why, in some Bend stuff. Apparently Bend also has a similar program and they actually partnered with other cities. So I'll try to find that and see if we can partner with them. It sounds like it's not as robust as we want it to be, but I don't see why we couldn't still partner.
Yeah. That's really cool. I don't even think Portland has something like this. Yeah, really cool. Anything else on safe spaces tonight? Do we have any member remarks and announcements? I have just one quick thing I mentioned at Human Rights Commission, but Amelia and Byron, I don't think you were there, which is that my term is ending on the commission at the end of this year. I'm planning on staying on LGBTQIA plus if it continues on. So of course that'll be up to the commission, but I have every hope that they'll continue this important work. But I'm just my term's running out, and I'm kind of going to be doing some other things, but would like to stay on with this group. So hope to keep seeing you every month. And that does mean the chair is, that does mean the chair of this group is open.
I was just going to clarify that. Yeah. Although I don't remember if the bylaws specifically say a commissioner needs to chair it or not. I can't remember.
Okay, well, if you find out a commissioner doesn't need to chair it and there's no chairs available, then I like to chair things.
I was just going to comment that our next meeting is on November 24th, which is the day before the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Yeah, what do you all think? Do you want to try for a different time, do a doodle poll or something? Or do you want to just keep it?
I'll be here. So I just noticed it was a busy week. But if everyone else is going to be available.
I think just to be on the safe side, we want to circulate doodle poll. Because I can't say for certain what my plans are for that time of year, but of course I don't want to commit to, but depending on anyone who, any public members who'd like to comment or any other commissioners' availability.
What are your thoughts about, since we talked about perhaps doing a special meeting if we needed one prior to TDOR, what are your thoughts about doing a doodle poll for the week prior to TDOR? And then we can have our regular meeting a little early. And if we do have some last minute things to talk about, we can talk about them there. What do you think about that idea?
I'm noticing that you're actually all here. We have 100% of the team in attendance. So if you all believe that would be Wednesday, November 17th, if you all believe you're available, we could just make the decision if you'd like to.
Making a decision live in the moment?
It's up to you. I'm looking at my calendar and I'm open. I want to check a second calendar real quick, but it works from my end if you'd all like. And then that's a great point, Mike. It affords you an opportunity for a last minute event check-in.
I'm
Oh,
available on the
oh,
17th. No?
no, I just realized I do have a commitment that begins at 7 with a neighborhood association, but if this group is 6 to 7, that should be just fine, actually.
Are we talking about the 17th?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm free that day.
I think we should go ahead and do it. And that way, if we have TDOR stuff to handle. Yes, Byron?
So I do want to flag that I am going to be out of town on the 17th.
Oh,
Of course, if you all decide that's the best day, I would just say that as far as any feedback for the poster, for any materials, it might be a bit of a tight fit.
Oh, if there's anything related to the poster, we'll do it via email.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Because we
Yeah.
want the poster out well before the 17th.
Right, yeah. I mean, I figured, but just in case.
Yeah. But are there any other days like that week that work for you, Byron? Or are you pretty much out of town that whole week?
I am out of state for that whole week, but the 17th is actually the day I'm flying back.
I see.
So that's the only hurdle.
I see.
But I would say maybe that Monday or Tuesday or the Thursday after that, any day after that, I would be free.
How's Thursday the 18th for people?
I have a commitment from 5:30 to about 6:45 that night. Well, maybe a doodle poll. I don't mean to keep you all
Maybe a
tied up
doodle
with
poll.
scheduling. I thought maybe it would be quick, maybe not.
Be a doodle poll after all.
Okay,
Yeah, a few different times that week of the 15th through 19th and options, and we'll see which one works best for the majority of us.
okay. And circling back to the flyer, yeah, I imagine I want maybe to confirm we're all on the same page. It sounds like we'd want to have a finalized version of the flyer within about a week. And then we could be moving towards posting, sharing, printing. Does that feel right to everybody?
Does that work
Yeah.
for you, Byron? Most importantly. Yeah.
Great.
Cool. Awesome. Well, look for that doodle poll from Gretchen. There will be some email activity around TDOR coordination. We'll have a meeting before TDOR to finalize anything. And I think with all of that, I think that's the whole shebang. I think we are ready to adjourn. All right, great.